Hi, my name's Dan, and this video is the first in a short series of videos that I'm doing on magic and the design of magic systems in video games. And this is hopefully a fairly quick introductory video just to set the scene for the rest of the videos that are to come. So I have a few things to say, and so let's get on with them. So the first one is that the idea of magic is strongly tied with the concept of world building and fantasy worlds. In fact, I would challenge you to think of any setting, game or books or TV or anything that you would that would be classified as fantasy that doesn't have any magic in it, and vice versa, that has magic in it and is not classed as fantasy. So I guess there's kind of questions as to what actually magic is, which we'll come into in a minute. Just a couple of pictures here, though. So it can mean a typical fantasy medieval setting with wizards and woods and things like that, but it doesn't have to be. There's all sorts of settings that can have magic in. You can have futuristic, sci-fi, historical. I'd be interested in seeing a caveman game with magic in it. That would be interesting. Okay. So, what is magic? And it's a question that I've been thinking about for quite a long time, because obviously I deal with this this issue in game design. And Arthur C. Clarke famously said, any technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. And kind of the question is, what does he mean by that? And I think that the answer is that if you don't understand it, then it could well be magic. So magic systems sometimes have a lot of internal consistency, but even if they do, they can still be thought of as magic. Let me expand on this a little bit, because it comes to the thought of what is real. And this is now into the realms of philosophy, so you thought you were doing games design, and I'm going to throw some philosophy at you. There is this philosophical question, which is, how do we know what's real? And I don't know that there's any absolutely distinct, clear answer to this yet, but my best answer that I've got is that reality is consistent and it follows rules. And the way that we know the difference between, with our memories, between memories of real life and memories of dreams, for example, is that dreams don't have that internal consistency of logic. It's possible when you turn a corner in a dream that you end up somewhere where you didn't expect, and then you turn the corner back and you're not where you started from. And things like gravity and physics and cause and effect all seem to have a remarkable consistency in what we call the real world. So magic is, to my mind, anything that breaks that consistency in a way that we don't understand. So it's something that, again, it's back to the lack of being able to explain it. It is then difficult, potentially, to separate the idea of magic from the idea of unreality. One way of thinking of magic is it's something that breaks reality, that breaks this consistency of reality. Anyway, that's a bit of philosophy, only a tiny toe dip. Oh, we've got to move on. Magic is intentional, so this is actually quite specific to games, I think. Well, I think it happens in all kinds of stories about magic, is that there may be magic that just happens. There may be magic that's accidental. There may be magic that's just kind of hanging around there in the world. But the interesting thing, aspects of magic, is when somebody sets out to use magic and has an intent. what they've got to do with it. So magic, certainly in games, is usually triggered by the actions of players or NPCs. And alongside that is the thought of let the player use magic. So I'm again racking my brain. I can't actually think of a game that contains magic where the player doesn't get to use that magic. I guess there would be situations in which you want to break this idea. So making the player feel powerful is obviously a thing that happens in a lot of games, but the genre of games that deliberately goes in the opposite direction is survival, certainly survival horror, where part of the point is to make the player feel vulnerable rather than powerful. And one way of doing that in a fantasy setting would be to have opposition, where yeah, enemies can use magic, but the player can't. But generally speaking, if you've got a game and you've got magic in the game, you want the player to be able to use the magic. That is almost a random collection of initial thoughts about magic. I'm going to get into some design thoughts in the next video about what magic means for a designer and some kind of ideas on some principles that might guide the design of magic systems. But that is it from me for now.